cannot sing the praises of this young man enough. I mean, I will shout it from the rooftops. He's offer worthy. I mean, I really mean that. And I think, specifically when you talk about a school like Kansas State, they're not really in need of another scholarship running back right now. I mean, they've got Montario Elston already committed in 2025. They've got J.B. Price, who's redshirting, that was a talented player from Blue Valley High School last year. They've got Joe Jackson that has looked promising in some limited touches. Dylan Edwards, DJ Giddens, though, with the season it looks like he's NFL bound with the season he's having, but technically he could return. But at the same time, you leave DeSoto when you're going. I mean, Kevin, you and I have gone over this before. He's a guy you don't want to lose if you're talking about Jayden Lang.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Hello, and welcome to the Verbal Commitment Podcast here on the Kansas City Sports Network, brought to you by Home Field Apparel. I'm Kevin Flaherty, and I'm here once again with Ryan Wallace from GoPowerCat.com and 24/7 Sports to talk to you about the world of local recruiting, from Kansas and Kansas City prospects to the college classes at Kansas, Kansas State, and Missouri. This week, we have interviews with emerging 2025 DeSoto running back Jayden Lang and 2026 wideout Tyren Parker of Shawnee Heights, one of the top talents in Kansas for that class. As always, if you like what you're hearing, subscribe, hit that like button, or leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts, like Apple or Spotify. All of those things help to grow the show and get us in front of more people like you. Ryan, you made your way out to DeSoto this past Friday and saw two offenses absolutely go off, with DeSoto outlasting Shawnee Heights 69-57.
Yeah, it was one of those games. Here's the thing, though, that's interesting about it, Kevin, is normally when you see like a score that's that high and you're in our shoes, you're thinking, okay, this is going to be one of those where I'm getting home at midnight type of games. And somehow enough, like I can't really figure it out, the game actually didn't last too terribly long, and it was a lot of fun. I think both defenses kind of left there pulling their hair out a little bit, but at the same time, both coaching staffs, and kind of talking and listening to them afterwards, were pretty kind of excited, I think, about the way that their team played. It was more of like, chalk that up to a really good offense on the other side, and move on, and take what we did against a pretty good defense on both sides and move forward. And so, oddly enough, Kevin, it's one of those games that, especially if you're Shawnee Heights, who has not won a game since the Topeka West game on September 13th. And yet at the end of the game, they're talking about they can go on, finish the regular season 3-0 and be, kind of right back in the thick of things in 5A at 3-4. And if that's the case, Kevin, that's a scary 3-4 team, and a team, I will just point out again, not to take anything away from DeSoto. DeSoto's a really good team, but Shawnee Heights is going to be a team that I think you and I are going to be talking about this time next year as well. An awful lot of sophomores, an awful lot of juniors, a team that's just kind of starting to figure out what varsity football is like and mature. But before our eyes, there's a lot of talent on that team that maybe just hasn't hit its peak yet. And then for DeSoto, we're going to be talking about them here in the playoffs here in a couple weeks, because that 5A bracket is loaded. And that's a team that, with that scheme and their physicality and their leadership, they're going to be a handful for just about anybody, whether you're talking Blue Valley, Mill Valley, St. Thomas Aquinas.
Part of that physicality comes from our unsung star of the week in Jayden Lang of DeSoto. Ryan, this is a guy that both of us kind of liked in the past because he has a solid frame and he combines it with some real juice as a runner. But it seems like you might have come away even higher on his potential after seeing him in person.
Cannot sing the praises of this young man enough. I mean, I will shout it from the rooftops. He's offer worthy. I mean, I really mean that. And I think, specifically when you talk about a school like Kansas State, they're not really in need of another scholarship running back right now. I mean, they've got Montario Elston already committed in 2025. They've got J.B. Price, who's redshirting, that was a talented player from Blue Valley High School last year. They've got Joe Jackson that has looked promising in some limited touches. Dylan Edwards. DJ Giddens, though, with the season, it looks like he's NFL bound with the season he's having, but technically he could return. But at the same time, you leave DeSoto when you're going. I mean, Kevin, you and I have gone over this before. He's a guy you don't want to lose if you're talking about Jayden Lang. However we can get him, let's get him. Watching his tape is one thing. Watching him in person was another. You're going to see the footwork here. We hear about it a little bit from, I remember Mike Mayock would talk about how fast guys are in a phone booth. And that is Jayden Lang. The footwork and the vision to make very little into big gains was what caught my attention right away. You see it in just about every one of these clips. There's a gap, there's a seam there, and then he's going to take 2 yards and turn it into 11, turn it into 12. His ability to run through contact. I think you saw some of his strength, his balance, again, his ability to bounce off contact, and then finally being able to see the wheels. He's a 10-9 kid, unwind aided in track last year. He's got a ferocious first step on the hardwood, a guy that can really get up to the rim with, just 1 or 2 steps. And you see some of that transition into the football field as well with the jump cuts. He's just a phenomenal athlete, Kevin. And he'll talk about in the interview that we'll play here in a little bit about his ability to just maybe be an athlete at the next level. And there's some schools that are just kind of undefining what role they feel like he can be for them. We're just kind of putting him in a role of athlete. He could be a DB as a safety. He could be a running back. Kevin, I think he's a real deal as an offensive playmaker. And when you see the speed, you see the vision, it's all there. And I think he's got the body too, having seen him in person now, to be 6 feet north of 200 and be an every down kind of guy. I didn't know going in on Friday night, is this more of a rotational guy that can, provide some pop here and there depending on the scheme and the opponent? I think he really can be an every down back at a high level, Kevin. I'm talking power 4 level. It might not be instantaneous, but again, we said it last week. DJ Giddens was a guy that a lot of guys were looking at Junction City and weren't quite sure if he was going to be offer ready right away. And again, there were some academic things that DJ had to take care of first as well. But there was no doubt once the academic things cleared, this is a guy that we've got to get on our roster. I think Jayden Lang, without any of the academic concerns, is already that guy for this class. You see the value in getting him as a preferred walk-on, but I'm telling you, he's the type of guy you're not going to want to let slip away. And if it means getting a scholarship in front of him late, as we saw K-State do with Jacob Parrish, we see Lance Leipold and company do it at KU, the smart move is there. Make it happen.
Yeah, I think a lot of times when you talk about a guy having a frame like Jayden Lang has, and when you talk about the speed, a lot of times you're almost short selling the other stuff, right? Like there are a lot of big, fast guys out there who are good running backs. And I almost think looking at him as an athlete, I understand why, based on the frame, based on the athleticism. He's a running back though, right? Yeah. Like when you look at the vision, when you look at the contact balance, like you were talking about, the ability to see the cut and make it. And he's doing that without having played a whole lot of high school or a whole lot of football in general. This isn't a kid that has been playing since 3rd grade. Oh. Weren't you saying that he just started playing here in high school?
This is a kid that just started in high school. He was kind of coming from a basketball background, had run some track before, gets to DeSoto, talks to Brian King, comes out for football, and the rest is history. And, again, Kevin, like I cannot sing the praises enough here. Brian King, the head coach of DeSoto, told me afterwards that he's also, and I don't think this is just coach speak, he's the most humble kid on earth, to the point where Brian King's son wears Jayden Lang's number, his jersey, like to the games. Like he's his favorite player, not because he's maybe the best player on the field like he was on Friday night, but because he'll go up to him after the game. He'll seek him out in moments that, maybe another high school player, certainly a high school star, maybe wouldn't take the time for even the coach's son. And Jayden Lang will do that. I also think, Kevin, and I'm interested in your thoughts on this, having covered recruiting for so many years yourself, is I wonder if the flex bone might be hurting Jayden Lang to some degree. I think I look at it as it allows you to see him in a number of different roles, and I think that's a good thing. But I also think from a college staff, I wonder, and it's nothing against Coach King, this works for DeSoto, use it. But I think college staff sometimes overthink it, and they're like, well, how does he look in our offense? We can't see it. If Jayden Lang was at Blue Valley Northwest in that offense, if Jayden Lang was at Blue Valley, Rockhart, name it, there would be no question. There would be a no doubt. I wonder, though, if the flex bone is part of the reason why people are going, like you said, what position is he? Is he a tweener? How do we use him? And maybe that's where some of the question marks come. And again, I would just say, forget the question marks. The answers are all right in front of you.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think whenever somebody runs a little bit of an unorthodox system, it's a little bit harder for coaches to just kind of see a guy and think, hey, this is the guy. We talk about local recruiting quite a bit. You look at a guy like Zeke Marshall, right? And you can basically take his high school tape and plug him into what KU like to do. You were seeing him do a lot of the things that you were going to be asking him to do. And that's different when he's out there being a running back in the flex bone versus a guy who's maybe back in the gun or maybe a guy that's even in I formation carrying the ball in more traditional stuff. You and I have talked a lot about Devin Neal, the way that he caught the ball, in high school. That's not necessarily something you're seeing a ton with Jayden is participating in a college level passing attack. And so I do think all of those things are certainly considerations.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a chance to chat with Jayden Lang after his terrific performance. Check it out.
Here with Jayden Lang, a 6-touchdown performance from you tonight in an offensive just slugfest. When did you kind of know that it was going to be one of those nights for you?
I'd say, before the game, I saw my little brother giving me a high five before the game, and I knew all my family was out here to see. My sister from college was here to see me, so I knew I had to perform. And once I saw how motivated the O-line was after last week, and they set up the whole game for me, and I credit all that to my teammates, my Will Bailey blocking on the edge, and everyone just setting everything up for me. It was just, they made the game easy for me.
With recruiting and stuff, are you surprised that maybe it's been, I would say, a little bit as slow as it's been from like an FBS level?
I wouldn't say I'm surprised. I'm just working every day, and when it comes to me, it's going to come to me, and I'm not rushing any process, and I'm thankful for every opportunity I have so far, and any future opportunities I'm seeking out. I'm considering everything, and I'm just, all the coaches that have recruited me up to this point, I'm just thankful for them.
I was going to say several offers are on the table. It's not like you don't have scholarship offers. Missouri State was here tonight. But I wanted to ask you about the local schools. KU and K-State have been showing a lot of interest, right? Even though the offer is not there. Let's start with KU, the school closer to campus here. What kind of intrigues you about what you've been hearing from their staff?
Just building relationships with the coaches I like, and that's what I kind of like. That's what I'm big on, is just knowing that they really care about me and knowing they care about more than just football, and education is really important to me, and a future career after football is what I kind of focused on also, and my parents are kind of honed in on, so just knowing that they care about that is kind of big.
What have the coaches with the Jayhawks kind of been targeting you for in terms of a position?
So I went to a KU mega camp over the summer, and I talked to the coaches over there, and they kind of said they had a running back 2025 committed already before they even knew about me. But just as an athlete, over the summer I did some DB at camps, and that was my first time ever even repping DB. So just everything as an athlete, really just getting me on the roster.
You've camped at Iowa State, K-State as well. Let's go to K-State for a minute. What do you like, again, with what you're hearing from their program, and talk with us a little bit about what their recruiting pitch has been for you as well.
So what I love about K-State is just how constant communication they are. They're always 100% with me. They're honest. Coach Anderson, running backs coach up there, he's come to visit my school about 3 to 4 times, and he was just here this week actually. So just getting a relationship with them, and Taylor Brate's just always on me. Love that guy, and I've been to K-State about 6 times on unofficial visits, and saw 2 game days, and the atmosphere in Manhattan is just great. And recruiting-wise, they kind of explain what's going on with how many spots they have on the team with walk-ons and scholarship opportunities, but I'm not rushing anything, and I'm just excited for any opportunity I get.
Growing up, did you follow a team locally here at all? I know you didn't play football till freshman year, so maybe you were following a different sport. But
yeah, so growing up, I was all basketball. I picked up track freshman year, and picked up football midway through my freshman year. So I was just a Chiefs fan, NFL. I didn't know anything about college football, so I kind of think that helps in my recruitment process, not having a bias towards anything.
Sure. growing up just watching football, watching the Chiefs, was there a player that you look back on now, or even a player that you watch currently on Sundays that you say, I see a little bit of myself in him? Our styles are comparable.
I wouldn't say necessarily any like running style or anything I model my game after, but just like the mentality and intensity of all the players is just something I'm big on. My dad's a big Ray Lewis fan and Ravens fan, so building that mentality, Ed Reed, those type of guys.
That's a great one.
Stuff I like to follow.
Well, the last but not least, then, obviously you're probably still waiting on some of those offers, right? Just to make sure that you've got everything on the table before you make a decision. Is it the type of instance where if a KU or a K-State were to offer here soon, would you let it play out in towards signing day, or are you kind of looking to, try and be done sooner than later if possible?
I mean, like I said, I'm not rushing any process, but I mean, the sooner the better, obviously. But I mean, if it takes until signing day, then I'm grateful for that. And if it's earlier than that, I'm grateful for that. But getting all my stuff on the table, talking with my family, whatever I feel best about is what I'm going to take.
So you heard it there, Kevin, from Jayden. It ultimately, time will tell. But he is open to the idea of a preferred walk-on. But obviously, we'll see what happens with the scholarship. It could be one of those deals where whichever local school kind of comes to the table with a little bit more first might have the advantage there.
Well, DeSoto has another 2025 prospect who's been a bit more highly recruited in Charlie Wolleben, who is currently committed to Iowa State. What did you see from Wolleben on Friday?
Continued motor. I mean, that's what we've always liked about Charlie is you're gonna get 110% on every snap. There are moments when you see that flash a little bit more. I do think when he gets to Iowa State, there will be a little bit maybe of a transition in terms of the caliber that he's going to go against. And I don't even mean from a talent level. I just mean size, strength, an ability to stay with him and stay with his length. That there could be an adjustment there, but I think there's no doubt when you get him in a strength conditioning program, on a nutrition program, the kid still has a ton of room to just balloon and grow in the best ways. And again, work ethic is never going to be a question for Charlie. And with his parents being Iowa State alums, that's a program that he's going to love and hold dear and want to give his all for. So, there's a lot to like about Charlie. It might not be instantaneous, but again, that's the type of program that will slowly develop him. And, they're strong with defensive ends that are like traits with Charlie. You can see the path. It's just a matter of him getting on it and kind of staying true to that course.
Yeah, I think he probably times a little bit better than a guy like Sam Sameh. I think Sam was probably a little bit longer, a little bit different frame, maybe even a little bit quicker side to side. But I do see some similarities kind of in body type and what you're projecting for down the road and how big you think both of those guys can get. Moving to the 2026 class and to the other sideline, Shawnee Heights has a pretty nice pass and catch pairing when you're looking at Aiden Scott throwing the ball to Tyren Parker. What were your thoughts there?
Again, my thoughts were we're just witnessing like the beginning. These two are going to be so much better, so different looking come next year. And I think Justin Swift, again, kind of knows what he has in his back pocket. It's just about keeping this team and those guys motivated moving forward. And there's plenty to be motivated about after the performance they had last Friday. I mean, for as many points and as many connections as they had, there were also some maybe miscues there along the way. So again, I think the potential is limitless for these two. For Aiden Scott, great size. College level size of the quarterback. It's what you want to see from, I think arm strength is there. When he was able, Kevin, to get his footwork the way that he wanted and have some protection in the pocket, which wasn't always there. There was a hot rush just about every single time out. And I thought he was okay on the run. There was a tendency to maybe drift back a little bit. I thought he was better kind of on rollouts, but neither here nor there. When he was able to get his feet set and make proper throws downfield, he was on the money. The accuracy was there. And then with Tyren Parker, again, I think we're just seeing the cusp of it. This is a kid that is, you see it and you're like that. Yeah, he's a dude. No doubt. You see why he's a guy that we're talking about. It's top 5, could surge into like the top 3 come this time next year, because I think He's still kind of figuring out his body a little bit, but he's every bit of 6'3". You cannot handle him on vertical routes. And he's a guy that, as you'll hear in the interview, he gets better with more space. You have to jam him at the line of scrimmage. And he talks about how he wants to improve his burst off the line. And I agree there. But you give him space in the open field, he is gone. And again, Kevin, I thought, agility-wise and things like that, he moves really well for his length. The one thing I would like to see from him kind of moving forward is, there were some catches that he was going out there and just bringing it in, snatching it, strong hands. There were other times that maybe he kind of let it get into his body a little bit, and DeSoto might be able to get a palm in there. At the next level, those will be PBUs. I'd like to see him be a little bit more firm and assertive sometimes with his catching, but there is so much to like about Tyren Parker. No doubt in my mind why Nebraska, KU, K-State, Iowa, Wisconsin are all on this kid.
He has a chance to be really like lethal after the catch. I feel like being that type of guy that can catch, a 12-yard hitch and then, break a tackle and go. And that's only going to increase as he continues to fill out his body and get stronger. I 100% agree with you, though, in that I think that his best football is so far ahead of him. I mean, right now, he's a 6'3" guy that can run and can really get vertical and, like you said, can do a lot of those things. But I think there are a lot of, if you're looking at it like a coloring book, I guess, there are a lot of sections still left to be colored with Tyren Parker. Well, we will have our interview with Tyren Parker coming up. But first, let's hear from you guys over at the KCSN hotline powered by Mint Mobile. If you have any questions or comments for here over Verbal Commitment, if you want us to do like a mailbag show, shoot us a text over at 913-407-6524, and we may just talk about it on the show or have a dedicated show to talk about it overall. So shoot us a message. We also want to tell you about our friends over at Home Field Apparel. Fall is here, and that means fall weather, and Home Field has you covered for everything you'll need in a Midwestern fall. Basically every possible type of clothing there is. Short sleeve t-shirts, long sleeve t-shirts, sweatshirts, even jackets and outerwear. Kansas State, and Missouri fans all have more than 40 items apiece to choose from. Head to homefieldapparel.com and use the promo code linked below in the description. You can get 15% off your first order. We'll be right back.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com. It can be such a pain to deal with big wireless providers, and what you see is almost never what you get. Just when you think you've had your right price, your bill will magically skyrocket with unexpected overages and hidden fees. So when Mint Mobile says you can get $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. So you can say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plan's jaw-dropping monthly bills with Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at just $15 a month. And if you're worried about using your own phone and keeping your phone number and your contacts, you can do all of that when you switch with Mint Mobile. So ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for just $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSNVC. That's mintmobile.com/KCSNVC. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/KCSNVC. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
And we're back with the Verbal Commitment podcast sponsored by Home Field Apparel. And we'll have our interview with Shawnee Heights' Tyren Parker here in just a bit. But let's talk about this week's pit stop. Ryan and I will be headed to Rockhurst to see the 5-1 Hawklets take on an undefeated St. Thomas Aquinas squad. Rockhurst actually was undefeated up until a week ago when the Hawklets fell to Blue Springs. And Ryan, a big part of Rockhurst's success so far has been the play of quarterback Charlie Luce.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago on the show that, he was a guy that I toyed with the idea of being my stock riser. And he's just had such a phenomenal senior season. And I got to admit, I kind of saw it coming, but only because of the 6-star showcase that I was at in April. And there's this kid there that I'd never really seen throw the ball before. Rockhurst had been playing another varsity quarterback up until this year. And at the 6-star, a lot of it is coached actually by many members of the DeSmet coaching staff that come over from St. Louis. And I mean, by the time they had their first water break, Kevin, all of the DeSmet coaches that are kind of around me are like, yeah, Rockhurst has a kid this year. There's a kid that we might be seeing in the playoffs over there at Rockhurst, and it was Charlie Luce. I really like the way that he throws, Kevin, in terms of he seems like a really hard guy to pressure when you watch him on tape. The footwork is just very fluid and doesn't seem to make like a bad step. And I love his ability to keep plays alive. I think that's something that I'm really excited to see against St. Thomas Aquinas, who has shown the ability to win at the line of scrimmage so far this year. Can Charlie Luce keep some of those plays alive and look for maybe a guy downfield like 6'5" Riley Sullivan, who's kind of been his TD target much of this year. And on the defensive side, when we talk about Rockhurst, Kevin, I don't want to leave out, you and I love to talk about the fun tape. We're the fun tape committee. If you have fun tape, Kevin and I will find you. Jeb Coding, 6'1", 215-pound linebacker, fun tape. He is a bruiser at fullback, and he has some of the most lethal hits that you will find in the Metro this year. Excited to see kind of what he does against this flexbone offense that Aquinas will bring to the table.
Yeah, and Aquinas has its own pretty good quarterback in LZ Slaughter. We were just talking about how maybe the flexbone causes people to see Jayden Lang as a little bit of an athlete, perhaps, and trying to find his role. Where do you see Slaughter projecting at the next level? Because with his frame, with the wiggle he has as a runner, it's not just pure speed that he has. He's got some elusiveness to him and some agility. Where do you see him fitting in at the next level?
Another guy that, we've mentioned here on the show, even going back, to last November, I think it was, when I watched Aquinas beat Miege in the 4A playoffs, and LZ Slaughter was a guy they were bringing in off the bench as a backup running back at 6'3", 205 pounds. And I'm like, who's this guy? Running for 8 yards a carry. And again, now this year, Randy Dreiling puts him in at quarterback. But again, in that flex bone, he's running a ton. Yeah. And I think that goes to show why Army is on the table with an offer. I think there are people out there that see him being a running back. And I think this year's tape is proving that. For me, Kevin, I would love to see what he could do in an outside linebacker role, or even a Mike linebacker role. I think he's got the physicality, and obviously he's got the agility and the speed to make up for it that you see as a ball carrier. Either one of those, I think he fits at kind of that group of 5 level, and I'll be surprised if he doesn't end up there. And if he doesn't, that probably just means that an FCS team got better. I like LZ Slaughter quite a bit.
Yeah, with his short area quickness, I'd really love to see the way he closes on a ball carrier, as opposed to trying to lose a potential tackler. When we had local trainer Joseph Potts on here for a previous episode, he really talked up Aquinas' running back, Cal Arndt, as a guy who's, kind of an undersized guy, but really excels in the weight room, puts up these great, not just lifting, but explosiveness numbers. He's another guy, Ryan, that I'm excited to see in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about Jeb Coding and what a lethal hitter he is. And then you kind of think about Cal Arndt, and again, kind of his center of gravity and that wrestling background and the way that he's able to withstand contact. You're going to need more than just Jeb Coding maybe to bring Cal Arndt down in this one. I mean, he is a round and pound guy, but again, as Potts said, and as you alluded to, more wiggle, more burst than you would kind of expect from that wrestler turned football guy, right? I'm excited to see kind of, can he be a collegiate running back? It sounds like the people that know him and have seen him are thorough believers. I just kind of want to see it for myself. I'm excited to see him go against a Rockhurst defense that, again, is very rarely short on size and athleticism. If he can continue to put up the numbers he has to this point on a defense such as Rockhurst, I think that's one of those, feathers in your cap, so to speak, for Cal Arndt and his collegiate resume.
We had a packed episode a week ago with the live Lincoln Cure interview and a talk with one of the elite 2026 Kansans and Josh Galbraith, which if you haven't checked that out, you really should watch it. It's must watch. But because of that, we didn't really get a chance to talk on the local college classes. And along with that, we missed on a really intriguing Missouri commitment with the Tigers scooping up 6'7" tight end Dakota Terrell from Bacola, Oklahoma, a town of about 4,000 people. Ryan, Terrell plays 1A ball in Oklahoma, but with his size and athleticism, he could be a guy that would be really fun to watch develop in Columbia.
Yeah. The tape, again, fun committee here, fun tape. You're going to see it here. I think on Huddle, he even lists himself at 6'9". So, yeah, Coach Drinkowitz is going to have a lot of fun. I mean, guys that are 6'9" should not be able to turn on a dime like he just did in the highlights. Guys should not be able to accelerate and then break at the short yardage that he's able to do. And I like the third clip here of him, even as a defensive end, Kevin, because it shows that while he's a little thin, a little rangy, I like the fact that he's able to get in there on defense. And again, at his school, it probably requires it, right, to go both ways. But that shows a level of toughness. It shows a level of kind of balancing out your football acumen, so to speak. The interesting thing for me with Dakota Terrell is obviously you see the upside. I mean, no pun intended. There's a ton to work with there. The interesting thing to me is that you've got Oklahoma and Oklahoma State that offered. And to me, if you're Brent Venables and Mike Gundy and you need a tight end and you've got a guy with this type of ceiling in your backyard that theoretically no one should know about before you, the fact that he ends up getting away from both of them is interesting to me. I know Oklahoma's got a pretty heavy wide receiver class, and so maybe their scheme might be more leaning that direction. But with Oklahoma State, that one was one that caught my attention because they end up choosing 2 tight ends in their 2025 class over Terrell. The question now is, only time will tell, is did Missouri end up getting the better bargain here over Oklahoma State, plucking Terrell out? Lot to like here. I mean, in terms of what the tight end position is moving towards, and we talk about it all the time with a guy like Lincoln Cure, Terrell absolutely fits that mold.
Missouri, recruiting kind of goes in waves, right? And you've got your initial offers and guys like that, and then you've got kind of that second wave of offers. He was kind of that part of that second wave of offers for Missouri. They had a couple other tight ends that they liked that they didn't wind up getting. I think this is a really intriguing guy to take a swing on with that second wave. He checks off a lot of boxes. Coaches love tight ends with basketball backgrounds, and he's got a really strong basketball background. When you talk about having a Tulsa offer, that's not a small Division I offer. That's a really good Division I offer, and lets you know the type of athleticism that he has at that side. He kind of blew up when people saw him in the spring and in the summer. Missouri offered him in late July. He visited unofficially in September before making his pledge at the end of the month. KU, K-State, Missouri, all of them are, if not totally finished in this class, are certainly in the home stretches of this class. And this was an intriguing piece to add at the end of it.
Right. And I mean, again, 24/7 lists him right now as a top 20 tight end and an 89 overall. So barely out of 4-star range, and he could get there by season's end. The one thing I will say of why this is a win-win if you're Missouri, right, is as you saw with that last clip, if things don't go well at tight end for whatever reason, if he can show, and he and his body can show that he can withstand the muscle mass, it's not a bad thing to have a 6'7", 6'8" guy on your defensive line in the SEC either. So to me, it's a win-win because you're either going to win on offense with him or you're going to win on defense with him. It'd be hard-pressed if he can transition the speed of the game at 1A Oklahoma to the SEC. If he can withstand that transition and get his body in shape, I don't see how this is a failure for Missouri.
Well, Terrell recently wrapped up his recruitment. Shawnee Heights' Tyren Parker's recruitment is just getting started. He's already ranked as a top 10 player in Kansas for 2026 by 24/7 Sports, and he's collected offers from Kansas State, Kansas, and Iowa State. He spoke with Ryan about his recruitment on Friday. Take a look.
Here at DeSoto High School, Shawnee Heights and Tyren Parker on the losing end, but 57 points from your offense tonight, Tyren. What was clicking for you and Aiden Scott in that side of the ball?
We just getting connections on the deep balls. We missed a few of them, but we came back and got some. Our other teammates, our receiver, my boy AJ, he's making good plays, so I'm getting double team. So we just need to click back, be back next week to get that win.
Yeah, multiple touchdowns for you on the offensive side, but we got to see you a little bit on defense too, playing both ways. How are you using what you do on defense to help you as a receiver as well?
Since I play defense, since I know the alignments for the corners, I just use that, get on his toes, get open, and make some plays.
I'm curious, are there any coaches that are kind of interested in you as maybe kind of a lockdown corner, or does everybody see you strictly as a receiver?
Right now, I got Nebraska looking at me for corner, which that's big time.
With some of your interest with recruiting, the K-State offer, KU's very involved. You mentioned Nebraska. Are there any other schools that you're really feeling a lot of interest from, or is it kind of mainly those three?
Right now, it's kind of mainly those three. Just a little bit of Wisconsin coming in, and we got Iowa coming in.
I was going to say, I know the Hawkeyes have shown some interest as well. With KU, let's start with them. You were able to go to their game at, I think, Arrowhead, right?
Yes.
What do you like so far about what you've seen from the Jayhawks, what you're hearing from the Jayhawks?
Right now, I'm liking the coaches. Coach Samuels, he's a big time. I love how he coaches the receivers, how they get into details, making good plays, and talking them into it.
Let's go to K-State, the other in-state school. You've been up there, saw you at camp. Obviously, you've seen a game day. What do you like about their program and maybe some of the coaches that you're hearing from most from that staff?
I'm loving the coaches over there. They show a lot of love to me, showing me I'm okay because of my hamstring, that's way back. But they're showing a lot of love to me and for the offense, and I love it.
What do you like about what you've seen from the Kansas State offense right now, and how do you feel like maybe you could fit in with their style?
I can really fit in with that. I love how they got them blocking. I love blocking, but sometimes, I get that deep ball. But I can be a good fit in.
What do you feel like your strength is right now at receiver, and what's something you're continuing to work on here your junior season, try to develop and improve?
Right now, my strength is I'll probably gonna say my route running on my deep balls. I love saying my deep balls, but what I need to develop is my quickness off the line and get my hands ready.
You seem like a guy that gets more speed with more field, right? It seems like you're a real deep threat. Is there somebody in college or in the NFL that you kind of compare your style to as a receiver?
Right now, I compare me with Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah.
I've been watching him since high school. He's my favorite.
When you think about recruiting, do you have a favorite yet? And how long do you feel like it'll take before you kind of get close to making a decision?
Right now, I don't know my favorite is. But right now, I'm just looking to next year, about senior year.
Okay, so this will go into next year. What are the things that, when you sit down kind of with your coaches, with your family right now, what are the things that I'm really looking for in a program?
I'm really looking forward to offense, all that. But mainly, I want them to be comfortable with my parents, and my parents feel comfortable with the coaches.
You've got a lot of local schools. We mentioned K-State, Nebraska, and KU. Do you feel like staying home is something that appeals to you, or are you open to going wherever, the road may take you?
And I'm open to go whenever, but I love staying home too.
And that should do it. Thank you all for watching and listening to the Verbal Commitment Podcast here on KCSN. If you like what you've seen or heard, please leave us a like, subscribe, hit us with a 5-star rating or comment. And until next time, we'll see you on the trail, and take care.